The unseen battle. And on the front of the flyer, there's a picture of a hand. And you see what appears to be this force coming at the hand. And the hand is doing all that it can to keep this force away. But you have particles and debris from this force that has penetrated. And this is the topic and the theme of the talks tonight. This battle that we have, this constant battle that we're in this dunya, that will last until the day that we meet Allah Azza wa Jal. And there's no doubt that the battle, the closer we get to the end of time, this battle becomes stronger and stronger. The forces of evil, they keep growing, and they get stronger, and they become more apparent. And the most dangerous of them is the evil that tries to penetrate our heart, our deen, our spirituality, tries to weaken our iman, weaken our nur of iman. And that's why the Prophet Muhammad said what? أَلَا إِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ أَلَا وَهِيَ الْقَلْبِ. There's a morsel of flesh in your body, that spiritual heart. If you're able to keep it upright and sound and protect it from all of the evil that tries to penetrate, your whole body will be good. Your actions will be good. Your statements will be good. Everything you're upon will be fine. But once that spiritual heart, your iman, that nur, that light, once it's weakened, it's over. Everything that's built off of that, everything that comes after that will be destroyed. And this is that battle that Allah Azza wa Jal mentions in the Quran over and over. لِيُخْرِجَكُمْ مِنْ what? مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. He sent that revelation, that prophet, that guidance. Why? To take you from that darkness to the light of Islam. And on the other side, some people, أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتِ. Their leaders, their protectors, their followers are at-taghut, everything other than Allah. يُخْرِجُونَهُمْ مِنَ النُّورِ إِلَى الظُّلُمَاتِ. Their only goal is to take us out of the nur and lead us back to that era of darkness. So we have this battle. The battle of whether or not we can preserve that nur. Whether or not we can remain upon hidayah until the moment we enter our graves. Until the moment that we meet Allah Azza wa Jal. Or we become weakened. The attacks become too strong and we're slowly pulled back into an era of darkness. And there's no doubt that the Shaytan is the head of this battle. And the tactic, the main tactic the Shaytan uses, or his main goal, is to get us back into something called jahiliyya. Into an era called jahiliyya. Who's heard of that word before? Jahiliyya. It's mentioned in the Quran, mentioned throughout the Sunnah. Anybody know a verse in the Quran where it's mentioned? Anybody know any verse in the Quran the word jahiliyya is mentioned? Mentioned 4 times in the Quran. Okay, mashallah. Is it the ruling of the jahiliyya that they want? Is that what they want? This backwards ruling in life? Is that what they're looking for? Hukmul jahiliyya? The legislation and the ruling and the judging based on chaos? When Allah Azza wa Jal has sent down the Quran to organize our lives? So what does this word mean? Jahiliyya. This is the tactic of the Shaytan. Anything he can do to pull us back to jahiliyya. What does that word mean? Yes. Okay, he said ignorance. So the word comes from jahl. And it means one of 2 things. Either adamul ilmi, ignorance, no knowledge. If you don't have any knowledge in something, you're jahil of that particular thing. Or it means something else. Adamul hilm. No intelligence. No mindfulness. Foolish. That's called also jahil. Those 2 terms are both used. Same word jahil. It's used in the Quran. وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. When the jahil addresses them, they just respond with salam. It's not talking about someone who's just ignorant, someone who's foolish, no manners, ill-mannered, no mind. no understanding. So it means one of these two things here: no knowledge or no intelligence, someone who's a fool. And they don't necessarily go hand in hand. Meaning somebody could have a lot of ilm, but they have no intelligence whatsoever. True or not? Okay, we have some of the most smartest people on the face of the earth. And what's their outcome? In the end, after all of that knowledge that they have, we think this whole world came about from nothing, by chance. There was an explosion and everything appeared. We think that we evolved from a monkey. That's my conclusion. There might be ilm there, but there's no intelligence. And vice versa. Someone might have no knowledge or not much ilm, but they have the intelligence. Look at that famous story of the Bedouin Arab, when someone came back who was studying Greek philosophy, and he came back and he came with his different theories and rules and laws and philosophy, explaining it to this Bedouin Arab that there's no God. So the Bedouin Arab heard everything he said, and what was his response? The poop in the sand is a sign that a camel was here. Look at his explanation. The dung, this camel poop right here, this is a sign that the camel was here. And the footsteps in the sand is a sign that a traveler was here. And the heavens and the earth and the mountains and the oceans and the planets in the universe is a sign of a creator. He might not have had the most vast amount of knowledge, but he had the intelligence. So they go hand in hand. They don't always go hand in hand. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ lived at a time of absolute jahiliyya. And that's what the Shaytan wants to draw us back to. That time of jahiliyya. Islam came and ended it all. What were they upon? What were they upon when that final message was sent and the Quran was sent down from the darkness to the light? They were upon one of the worst forms of jahiliyya. What are some examples? Look at their society. Somebody in their society would go and would act like a traveler. They would act like a traveler. They would request from someone, can you host me for a few nights? The host would agree. They would come into the home. As soon as they got in the home, they would kill the host. They would rape the family. They would rob the house. Then they would write poetry about it. And they would go recite it in front of the Kaaba. This was existent in the Jahiliyyah, as long as it was from a different tribe. And when we study each one of these traits of Jahiliyyah, ponder upon it. Think about it in our day and time now, to see, is the Shaytan successful? Is the Jahiliyyah coming back? People acting, convincing you to trust them. And then once they have your trust, murder. We have now what? Home invasions. We have now people live streaming murder, proud of it. Live streaming online, mass shootings. This was a trait of the Jahiliyyah that's now prevalent again. What else were they upon? Look at the marriages of the Jahiliyyah. As the Prophet Muhammad said in the hadith in Bukhari, that al-nikah fil Jahiliyyah ala arba'ati anha. The nikah of the Jahiliyyah was 4 different types. When they wanted to get married, when they wanted to develop that family structure, he said a husband would give his wife to somebody who was noble, to somebody who had some money, to somebody who was well built, to somebody of nobility. He would give his wife to that individual. And she would stay there with him having relations until she got pregnant, and then she would be sent back to her husband. That was how the family was built in the Jahiliyyah. A second type, a woman would have relations with up to 10 men. And then when she became pregnant and had the baby, she would bring all of them forward and say, you are the husband. You are the father. You are the father and you will be my husband now. Guessing. Another type, they would put out flags in front of their home. And the flag would indicate that this woman was open to relations with anybody. This was the lifestyle that they lived. This is how the families would be established. And then, as the hadith mentions, the Prophet Muhammad was sent with the haqq وَهَدَمَ. He destroyed and eradicated all of that. That was all ended, and it came to an end. Tawaf. They would make tawaf around the Kaaba. How? Naked. Imagine, it was normal, it was fine for someone to be out nude, naked, no clothing, walking around the Kaaba. Has that trait of the jahiliyya come back to us now? We see the way people are dressed, intimate relations in public, dressed yet naked, parades, nude beaches, parades for people, encouraging you, just lose your hayat. So the jahiliyya, we see no trust, no hayat, no family structure, chaos in the family. What else? Wars. They would have wars that would break out for the most foolish of reasons. There were wars, they have the names of them. Harb al-Basus, a war that broke out between two tribes because a camel crushed an egg. A camel from one tribe, it crushed an egg from another tribe. So a war broke out for 30 years called Harb al-Basus, and they couldn't solve their problem. Daesh, I didn't say Daesh, I didn't say it. Harb Daesh. It was a war that broke out between two tribes over a horse race. One horse beat another. Their anger overtook them. A 40-year war took place. Has this re-emerged in our day and time now? Look at our family structure. Before we look at the world, look at our families. Brothers not talking to one another. Why? Foolish purposes. Brothers not talking to sisters. Parents not talking to their children. Children abandoning their parents. Family disputes, suing one another in court over something. When you look at why did it happen? Very, very petty reasons. Let alone the wars of the world, the Muslim countries blockading and boycotting one another. People don't even know the reasons why they're doing it. So we see these traits of the jahiliyya slowly coming back. Girls would be buried alive. We've all heard this before. Not just girls, children. What were the reasons? Anybody know why? Why would they bury the children alive? How about their boys before the girls? The hands go down. Why would they bury their boys alive? Boys. Why would they kill their children, their boys? No. For fear of poverty. So Allah Azza wa Jalla had to tell them, and do not kill your own children, khashyata imlaq, fearing poverty. You're going to kill your children fearing poverty. And if they had a daughter, what would they do? This was existent. Now picture this society that the Prophet Muhammad was sent to. If they had a daughter, they would bury their daughter alive for shame of having a girl. A girl couldn't protect us, cannot defend us, our honor, cannot inherit from us, will not fight wars. So they would bury the daughter alive. This was common. One of the Sahaba with the Prophet Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad is narrated by Imam Al-Qurtubi in his tafsir. Every time he would see him looking very sad, very down. He would tell him, Malaka takunu mahzuna. Why do you look so down? Why is it every time I see you look sad? Finally he admitted it. He said, Ya Rasulullah, inni adnabtu dhanban fil jahiliyya فأخاف أن لا يغفره الله لي وإن أسلمت. I committed a sin, Ya Rasulullah, in the jahiliyya, in that era of darkness. I committed a sin that I'm afraid Allah will not forgive me. Even though I accepted Islam, I became Muslim, I'm still afraid the severity of that sin, I will never be forgiven. So the Prophet Muhammad said, أخبرني عن ذنبك. What is that sin that you did? How could it be so bad? He said, Ya Rasulullah, I had a daughter. And I had mercy. I would see she was my daughter. So I held off. I didn't kill her immediately. She grew up. She was starting to become a woman. The hamiyyatul jahiliyya would overtake me. I would think that she's a woman in my home. I'm going to have to give her away. She's not a boy. Finally, I plotted a plot. I told her mother that we're going to go on a journey to visit some relatives. Get her ready. The mother felt something wasn't right. They left. He said, we walked and we walked and we walked until we got to a well. And we stood over the well. And I would look at her and look at the well. And look at her and look at the well. Until she realized, she looked up and she said, Abati, ماذا تريد أن تفعل بي? What are you trying to do to me? لا تضيع الأمانة. Don't let me down. Don't lose the trust. I'm your daughter. So he said, the mercy would overtake me. I would walk. And this was happening back and forth until finally I got to a well. And back and forth I'm looking at her until I took her. غلبني الشيطان. Shaytan overcame me. The jahiliyya overcame me, overpowered me. I threw her in the well. And he said, I was able to hear her screaming, Ya Rasulullah, ضيعت الأمانة. ضيعت الأمانة. You've broken the trust. He said, I kept listening until she hit the bottom. And I stood there waiting حتى انقطع صوتها, until I couldn't hear anything else anymore. Until I was sure she was dead. And then I went back home. So this Sahabi said, I looked up at the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and his face was full of tears. His beard was wet. And he said, if I was لو أني أمرت أن أعاقب أحدا بما فعل في الجاهلية لعاقبتك أنت. If I was going to punish anyone for something they did in the jahiliyya, I would have punished you. If it was allowed to punish anyone for a deed done in the jahiliyya, in that era of darkness, it would have been you I would be punishing. ولكن الإسلام يجب ما قبله. But Islam wipes out everything that came before it. But now picture this life and these traits that are slowly emerging back into society. Is this prevalent now? If someone has one daughter, and then another daughter, and then a third daughter, and a fourth daughter, what happens when they're given the news of that fourth or fifth daughter? In our day and time, what are they hoping for? I wanted a son. They start going and looking and maybe even resorting to magicians and this and sorcery so they can have a son. And they start trying to blame the reason why they're having daughters. You ask someone, why aren't you getting married? Oh, I don't have the money. So these traits are slowly coming back. Their aqidah, this era of darkness, their entire deen, their entire aqidah was based on superstitions and omens and rituals. They had a concept called at-tiyara, from the root word tayr. Omens and superstitions. If they saw a bird flying a certain way, they would act a certain way. If they had an important decision to make, they would let a bird fly. If the bird flew to the right, they would act a certain way. If the bird flew to the left, they would make another decision. If a certain month came, they wouldn't get married in that month. And this was prevalent even before. Even at the time of Musa, they told him what? قَالُوا طَيَّرْنَا بِكَ وَبِمَنْ مَعَكَ. We have a brother, Jamshid, his mother is waiting outside for him. Brother Jamshid, his mother is waiting outside. They told Musa, قَالُوا طَيَّرْنَا بِكَ وَبِمَنْ مَعَكَ. We think all of our bad is coming from you. It's because of you. It's a result of you. That's why we're going through all this difficulty. Because of you and the believers with you. And Islam came to eradicate that. The Prophet Muhammad said what? About the 70,000 that will enter Jannah بغير حساب ولا عذاب. There will be a group of people starting out at 70,000. They will enter paradise, no punishment, no accountability, straight to Jannah. No standing in front, watching their deeds, reading their book, answering about it. They will go straight to paradise. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make us all from them. Who are these people? And the Prophet Muhammad said, فَاسْتَزَدْتُ رَبِّي فَزَادَنِي مَعَ كُلِّ أَلْفٍ سَبْعِينَ أَلْفٍ. I asked Allah, oh Allah, give me more. 70,000 is not enough. So I was given with each 1,000 another 70,000. How much is that? How much? Mathematician. 70,000 with each 1,000 another 70,000. 70,000 times what? 70. How much? 4.9 million. 5 million. Plus the original 70,000. And then the Prophet Muhammad said, and then Allah gave me ثلاث حثيات. 3 heaping handfuls from the handfuls of Allah Azza wa Jal. On top of that, when Umar heard that, he started making takbir. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He didn't say anything for the 4.9 million. But when he heard 3 heaping handfuls from the handfuls of Allah, he said Allahu Akbar. He understood the greatness of that number. But who are these people that will go straight to Jannah? Who are they? هم الذين لا يتطيرون ولا يكتوون ولا يسترقون وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. They are the ones, look at the wording of the hadith, very poetic. They are the ones that never ask anybody else for ruqya. Oh, so and so, recite Quran on me, I'm not feeling well. Is it halal? It's halal. If I come to you and say, can you read Surah Al-Falaq on me? I'm not feeling too well. Halal. Can you make dua for me? It's allowed. هم الذين لا يسترقون. They don't ask anyone for ruqya. ولا يكتوون. They don't use cauterization, that form of healing using burning. ولا يتطيرون. They don't believe in any of this superstitions and omens and rituals. And what's their common denominator? وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. They fully rely on Allah. I don't need you to make dua for me. I don't need you to read Quran on me. I can read Quran in myself. I can make dua myself. I don't need to use these haram methods to heal myself. I can turn to Allah. He's the one who heals me. I don't need to resort to birds and signs and numbers and rabbits' feet. This is nothing. All the khair comes from Allah. And only Allah can ward off the shar, the evil, the apparent evil. But has this re-emerged in our ummah now? Yes or no? Is this back now? What do we find now prevalent? Everywhere you look. You go to some homes and they have the eye, the blue eye. This eye, if I hang it up, it's going to prevent evil from coming in. And ayn. And this hand, if I hang it over the door, it's going to stop all of the evil. I'm going to be protected. And if I do this and if I do that, and if I sit in this position or I act like that, and this number is bad luck, and this individual is this. So now our deen goes back to what the aqidah of the jahiliyya was upon. Superstitions. Don't do this at this time. You can't have a child. Do this form of magic. Wear this. Say these words, you'll have a baby. Go see this magician. Your marriage will be full of love and bliss. These traits of the jahiliyya, one by one, the shaytan is able to bring us back to that era of darkness. Al-fakhru bil-ansab. Finding our pride, boasting in who we are and where we come from. I am from this place, and I am white, and he's black, and I am from Egypt, and she's from Pakistan, and I am from... And that's where we find our honor, where we come from. And we start looking down upon people. Oh, they're from this place, or they're this nationality. The Prophet Muhammad heard one of the most honorable Sahaba, Abu Dhar. Has anyone ever heard of Abu Dhar? Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, one of the most honorable Sahaba. He heard him saying to somebody, Yabna Sawda, you son of a black woman. In some narrations of the story, he was seeking advice about something important. So someone of low lineage, someone who was a slave, decided to give his 2 cents. And he ignored him. I don't need to hear from you. Ibn Sawda, you son of a black woman. The Prophet Muhammad came rushing to him. He said, Ya Aba Dhar, innaka mru'un fika jahiliyya. Oh Abu Dhar, you are a man who's ignorant. You have jahiliyya in you. It didn't matter who he was. It didn't matter all of his knowledge, all of his bravery before that. You are a person who has jahiliyya in you. Abu Dhar went chasing that man around, putting his face in the ground, saying, please just step on my face. Step on my face, forgive me. This was the biggest mistake of my life. Humiliate me on the ground, put your foot in my face. The man would say no, he would pick him up and hug him. But this is what they were upon. Do we have that in our day and time now? Arabs, they still use the word in their vocabulary to refer to somebody of color as what? As what? Everybody knows it, but nobody will say it. It's as if that's the word in their vocabulary, abd. If someone wants to refer to someone of color, they'll call him a slave. People, someone comes for marriage, they're from too lowly of a tribe. Their village, I don't like their village. I would never marry them, my daughter or my sister to them. They're not of high enough rank. Jobs in the Muslim world. I worked in a place. We all did the same exact profession, but I was American. I got paid 100 riyals an hour. And the British guy got paid 90 riyals an hour. The Egyptian, 25 riyals an hour. The Pakistani, 10 riyals an hour. And some people were modern day slavery. They work and they don't even get paid. The pay scale depends on where we are and where we come from. These are the traits of the jahiliyya. And the Prophet Muhammad was living in all of this, to the point he would have to escape. He would run away and climb a mountain, and he would be watching down his people upon that lifestyle, upon that jahiliyya from the top of a mountain, preferring to isolate himself in a cave than deal with a people like that. Until finally Allah Azza wa Jal sent that nur, that guidance, that revelation, to pull the people out of that darkness into the light of Islam. And his message was what? أَلَا كُلُّ شَيْءٍ مِّنْ أَمْرِ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ تَحْتَ قَدَمَيْهِ. Everything from the jahiliyya, one of the first things he said when going back to Mecca, everything from the jahiliyya is done. It's under my feet, it's over. The jahiliyya is done. We've eradicated the jahiliyya. But at the same time, as we see apparent now, when Hudayfa asked him, Ya Rasulullah, when Hudayfa in that famous narration used to say, everyone used to like to ask about the good, I always like to ask about the bad, to protect myself from it. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, هل بعد هذا الخير? He said, كنا في جاهلية وشر. We used to be in an era of darkness, jahiliyya, and evil. After this khair, will we ever go back to that? And he asked over and over, will we ever go back to that era of darkness? The Prophet Muhammad said, what? Naam. It will re-emerge. And there will be du'atun ila nar ila abwab jahannam. It will re-emerge with callers standing at the gates of the hellfire. They'll be encouraging and calling and recommending and trying to get that jahiliyyah to come. That's the battle. The battle is between that light and the darkness, the jahiliyyah and the iman. It will always be there. There's always going to be callers trying to get you back. And each time we fulfill one of those traits, whether it be with our racism, our aqeedah and what we believe, the way our families are built, our relationships, every time we fulfill one of those traits, our light, our nur of iman gets weaker, gets that much weaker. And we slowly find ourselves going back to that era of jahiliyyah. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, one of his goals was to give the believers a very unique identity, so that this battle, this unseen battle between light and darkness was clear. They dress a certain way, you dress differently. He one time saw a Sahabi wearing a thobe that was dyed red. He said, change it, take it off and change it. This is from the clothing of the jahiliyyah. He would see them cutting their hair a certain way, al-qaza', shaving part of the head and leaving part of the head long. He said this is haram. He prohibited it. He said this is the hairstyle of the jahiliyyah. Has this re-emerged in our day and time? All we'd have to do is look around and we see the hairstyles. He said the Jews and the Christians, they don't grow their beard. You grow your beard and trim your mustache. Be different than them. Have a different look than them. Have a different clothing style than them. Have your own unique hairstyle. The Jews greet each other with their fingers. The Christians greet each other with hand signs. You greet each other differently with the salam. Shake one another's hands. Be different than them. Even in our ibadah. They worship Allah. They fast on the 9th. We will fast. They fast on the 10th. Next year we're going to fast on the 9th and the 10th. So we can be different. So we can have our own identity. We don't want to find ourselves with every aspect of the jahiliyya in our lives. And the only thing left about our Islam is our name, if even that. We have to have our own unique identity, our own unique ibadah, our own unique look, character. Be a Muslim, look like a Muslim, worship like a Muslim, speak like a Muslim. Because there's those callers. They're calling to the gates of Jahannam. That's their job, to pull us back. That's the battle. Out of that light, back into the darkness. And one of the main ways, as we heard today from Sheikh Salim, one of the main tactics of the Shaytan to get us back is to imitate, to try to be like them, to be ashamed of who we are. Follow them, follow their ways, follow their look, follow their rituals. We're living now in the end of October, Halloween around the corner. When the Prophet Muhammad came to Medina, he said, what are these days? What are they doing, the people? He says, these are Yawmani, 2 days from the jahiliyya, that what they used to play in and celebrate, entertainment from the jahiliyya. That's all it was. 2 days from the jahiliyya, they used to play and have fun. What was his answer right away? Allah has replaced them with that which is better. The 2 Eids. Those days are done. Those 2 days of amusement and fun and play are gone. And now we have our a'yad. Let that be your day of celebration. So what would the Prophet Muhammad say about rituals like Halloween, the Day of the Dead, the day believed where the living reconnect with the spirits of the dead, and the spirits of the dead are given a chance to come back to life. So people wear their masks and costumes to block their identity, and they put offerings at the door of sweets and whatever it might be. That's what Halloween is. That's where it came from. Blood sacrifice, animals, strange rituals. Until this day now, October 31st and the night of the 30th still is the most important day on the satanic calendar, where they do all of the rituals. If the Prophet Muhammad did not allow us to have any of these traits of the jahiliyya, how about not even a day they're playing? How about a day like that? How about a day connecting us to the dead and to the devils and to the demons and blood sacrifice? He said, if nightfall comes, if it's nighttime, immediately get your kids inside the house. Just when nightfall comes, every night, if the sun sets, pull your children in the home. Because the shayateen, they disperse at nighttime. So pull them in, close your doors, and bring the children in the home. So how about a night where all of this is going on? What would his reaction have been? Seeing people celebrating that, and everyone's going to think, what's the big deal? So what? I'm doing it just for fun. I'm putting on a costume, my children, we go out, trick or treat, we have a good time. What's the big deal? I don't believe in it, but that's what happens. It's one step at a time. It's one trait of the jahiliyya at a time. One characteristic at a time, until our light of iman is weak, and then we wonder why. Until our identity is gone. We've compromised our deen to the point that we can look at all of these traits of the jahiliyya one by one, and we find them prevalent around us today. And if we allow ourselves to do that, what's the end result? What will happen? What will that lead to? I'll stop with that and I'll hand it over to my honorable colleague,